Hi, welcome to the Spectacular Entrepreneur Show, and it's another great month, and we are really happy to have you here today. My name is Nanette Polito, and I am your host. I am a success coach with Ascentive, and today I actually have two different guests on. Mike is off in Thailand to the BNI convention, so he is not here with us today. However, I have with us David Clegg, who is the founder and owner of the Social Sherpa, and Brian Rambo, who is the owner of Pattern SEO. And our topic today is one that you all have been looking for, and that is all about SEO and SEO rankings and marketing. You guys always have a lot of questions about marketing. And so, as you know, we're trying to answer some of your questions. So I thought I would bring these two experts on today to really help you gain the knowledge you want, because of course we all have to market, and we of course are proponents of referral marketing and really teaching you how to get your business through spheres of contacts. However, there's other marketing that you need to do, and this is marketing that you keep asking us about. So that's why they're here. Now, I'm going to be here and I'm going to stay with you. And remember, there's a question area on your screen. So if you have a question, please go in and put it in there, and I will be sure to answer the question, or I won't. They will answer the questions for you because they are the experts. But let me just tell you a little bit. David, who has been a dear friend of mine for a very long time, is also, as I said, the owner and founder of the Social Sherpa. He is a really passionate relationship marketing expert who works with professionals who desire to unlock relationships and allow them to be mutual, beneficial, and possible. He is really, when it comes to marketing, I've always said David is like a marketing genius. He has some really great ideas that just are amazing. I just love listening to him. And Brian, well, I have to tell you that Brian is actually new to my world. David is the one who actually knew Brian, but Brian is really good at what he does, and he helps people get on the first page of the Google rankings. So I know that all of you want to hear from a person like Brian. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to them, and gentlemen, enlighten us.
Well, thanks, Nanette. I'm really glad you have us here. And Brian, thanks for, on such short notice, joining me for this. I think you're going to bring a lot of weight to the conversation. Let me share my screen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Let me share my screen and jump right into the presentation, but probably from the beginning is good. But what we're talking about is managing your online reputation, and all of that is encompassed in the idea of SEO, SMO, different acronyms, and that's the biggest reason why Brian's here. But it's a whole world of ideas, your online reputation, from blog posts, social media sites, forums, press releases, competitor sites, review sites. And one of the big things, that a big miss for people many times, is what's not said about you online can be as impactful as what is said about you. Because people wonder, why isn't most of these other companies have this information out there? Why doesn't this company, or why doesn't this person? But this is like a 5,000 foot view. You could probably make subcategories, almost endless subcategories under each one. Like blog post as an example, blogging on your website, blogging on different forums, guest blogging.
Guest blogs. Yep.
What's that? Go ahead.
I was saying guest blogging, making sure you're getting building out your content on other sites that are relevant to your niche. Exactly.
Which is also going to give you nice citations around the internet and backlinks. One of the things, this acronym, people look at it and they immediately think best friend forever. But I want to talk a little bit about the difference between branding and reputation. BFF in my world stands for best foot forward. And that's really the idea of a brand. It's your physical appearance. It's the way you speak. It's the way you write. It's the way your building looks if you're a brick and mortar. It's the way your website looks. I mean, everything relates to a brand. I even tell my kids, What brand are you creating for yourself in school? Because they have a brand with the teachers and with the administrators. We have a brand everywhere we go, and we should be conscious of it. I have a brand at my church. We all have brands. And one of the brands, when I started the Social Sherpa, I didn't want to wear traditional office business attire. So I thought, you know what? I'd been wearing these Hawaiian shirts with the kids at church. So I thought, I'm going to just brand myself with those. And it worked to the degree that people knew who I was, because I was typically the only one in a business meeting in a Hawaiian shirt. And
long sleeve ones even. David
what's that?
has long sleeve Hawaiian shirts. Who has those other than David Flagg?
Well, my favorite question people would say, where do you buy those? And I'd say, Hawaii. Oh, you went to Hawaii? I said, no, there's this whole thing called the internet, and there's stores in Hawaii. But yeah, I have long sleeve Hawaiian shirts because it gets cold in this part of the world. And so it worked.
Today.
What's that?
It's snowing today.
Right. So it worked from a visibility perspective, but it didn't have the credibility impact that I was hoping for. I found myself working uphill an awful lot. So although the brand brought me visibility, I had to retool about 3 years ago and by the way, Brian asked me a minute ago, he goes, that's not you in the Hawaiian shirt, is it? And no, it's not. I've never been that handsome. And, so I went to a more business-like attire, and it has made a tremendous difference in the way I'm received and perceived. Jim Rohn, one of my all-time favorite speakers, he used to say, let me give you a clue to help you through life. People do judge you by the way you look. He said that's all they've got to work with at the beginning. So you have to pass the show up test. So take a look in the mirror and ask friends, what does my appearance communicate to you? And go to work on how you look, and then start looking at everything critically. Look at your brand from a physical perspective and see what adjustments might need to be made. But let's talk about some of the tools. That there's all sorts of tools you can use to get good ranking and branding and things like that. But I think, Brian, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this, about Google My Business. Everyone should claim and own and be active with their Google My Business account. Brian, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about why this is so important to the business owner.
Well, for the small business owner in particular, with Google My Business, by optimizing this, you're essentially putting your business in the best visibility for Google to find your site. So if you abide by their practices, go through, have a full profile, you stay active on it. Google is the internet that 90% of people are searching on Google. So, when you're putting your website or your company in front of Google in the best foot, you're gonna rank higher. And by doing that, most people now are not stopping past the little Google Map Pack, which is the 3 rankings that are local near you. And that's really heavy on, having a lot of reviews, having a profile that's filled out and updated, making sure that addresses are correct and so on and so forth. But if you had to only choose one platform, you'd want to be on Google because that's where the traffic is. And so keeping your website safe keeping your website in Google's presence in that sense is the safest move to make.
Yep, that's exactly right. And I tell people all the time, don't have in your mind that you've got to look good online. You have to make Google look good. They're in the information business if they're in anything. In fact, we'll get to it a little later, their written mission is to organize the world's information and make it easily accessible and useful. So your job as an entrepreneur is to make all your information easily accessible and useful. And too many times, if you think of it like a cocktail party being online, if you go to a party and all somebody does is talk about themselves and how awesome they are, you can't get away from that person fast enough. But you see businesses doing it all the time. Every post is about, you want to buy a watch? You want to buy a watch? You want to buy a watch? Instead of giving the audience what they are interested in. They may not be interested in you right now, but if you build that empathy and endear yourself to them by giving them good content. When the purchase time comes, you've already created that relationship. So a lot of that can be done through the Google My Business page.
Absolutely.
What moves the needle? There's and it was probably Q2 or maybe right at the beginning of the year that they released the settings function on your Google My Business page. And you can actually set up sections of your for your offering. Call this as a menu. This is a client of mine that they do doggy daycare, boarding, grooming, training, pet photography. So literally these big sections. So the first section here is the dog care services, but then we broke it down and got real keyword happy, right? With doggy daycare, boarding, dog boarding, and then dog grooming. And then we went into different types of grooms. What this does is it gives Google confidence that the words being searched by the consumer are present in your Google My Business page that you're active on, so there's credibility there. And so they feel confident now that they're not going to look like an idiot presenting you that it might be wrong information or not great information. And I tell people, think of it like your credit score. If you have a credit score and you're credit worthy, then the banks lend you more money at lower rates. If you have a credibility score, a high credibility score with Google, in other words, they trust your content, they trust your information's right, you're going to get presented in a higher ranking. Brian, you obviously are more expert at this than I am. Why don't you talk about that concept?
Yeah, I kind of coin it. It's the art of SEO. So it's authority, relevancy, and trust. And those are basically the three factors that Google kind of overall on a 50,000 high level overview, that's what Google wants. They want you to be authoritative in your niche so you have valuable content that will help users solve a problem. You're relevant to whatever that keyword might be searching. And then you're trustworthy, which also has a little bit to do with website schematics. And, you know, as you're linking your website from your Google My Business, making sure it's, you know, secure now. Google is constantly releasing updates and tweaking their algorithm every day. So you know, you can't sit here and say you're on top of it all the time. You kind of have to make sure at the end of the day, you understand you're providing real valuable content and you're relevant to that topic. And Google will eventually trust you. And that's kind of what moves the needle.
And there's many things that will begin to move the needle. And I don't know where this might play a role in the algorithm inside of Facebook, as an example. If you're responding to people that are messaging you through your business Facebook page and your response time is fast and you respond 100% of the time, Facebook likes that because their platform is being used and optimized, if you will, for its purpose. So they go, oh, okay, This person does this, so we're going to move them up a little bit. And I don't know to what degree. I really don't even care. That's probably true. I really don't even care because at the end of the day, all of these tools are about giving great service. If you give dynamite, crazy great service, but you use these tools to do it, it's going to help your ranking overall. Let's talk about LinkedIn a little bit. Did you have something to add, Brian?
I'm just while we're going, I'm gonna look at just how many people search doggy daycare on a monthly basis, just to kind of give you an idea as to why it's so significant. Okay.
Everybody that's active in the marketplace should have a very robust and a very active LinkedIn profile. I still hear it from time to time that LinkedIn's just for finding jobs, and it is not. It is the professionals' network. Online network. And some of the things that you should be doing with your LinkedIn profile, is never posting political posts on LinkedIn. It's the same as going into work and talking about politics. I have some very passionate beliefs about politics, and you won't see one of them on LinkedIn. And so almost anything you post on Facebook, on your personal Facebook page, should never be posted on your LinkedIn page, practically. right? That's not exclusively true, but it's close. And so what you should be talking about is your area of expertise. And so you should, for instance, I use Google Alerts. And if you're not familiar with Google Alerts, look it up, because I have the Google search engines finding me content. So I put these alerts out there with key names like my clients' names, potential clients' names, topics, subject matter. And then each day I get a digested email from Google that says, here's the 27 articles or 27 hits we found, or 127. It's endless, really. And I just scan it, scroll through it, and I might post something on LinkedIn that I saw that might be relevant. The other thing I use it for, and this is an entrepreneur little hack, is I use it for follow-up. So if I'm trying to land a client, I'll find things that are important in their world, Google alert them, and then I'll get these articles and blog posts and different things, and I can send them to them. And I never talk to them about coming on board with me. I just say, hey, I saw this interesting article, thought it would be an interest to you. And I spent 3 years doing that with my largest client. And every time I'd send him something, he'd always comment, these articles are really helpful, thank you. And he would share them with people that he worked with. He works in a company of about 250 people. And so that's a great way to follow up and not just be a pest saying, you want to buy a watch? Are you ready to buy yet? Are you ready to buy yet? You're actually adding value. So even if you don't land the sale, you've extended your brand. So yeah, that's what
Right.
I want you to understand about LinkedIn. You have anything you want to add about LinkedIn, Nanette or Brian?
I would say, with being an entrepreneur, I use, a lot of people like to use it as a resume, and I kind of view it more as a, prospecting tool. There are a lot of features inside of LinkedIn that are great for B2B businesses that I don't think are leveraged fully. And there's a lot of ways that you can kind of build in automation to that too, that can really help you depending on your business. But, there's large companies that are utilizing LinkedIn in a very effective manner and just cold outreach and finding your target audience. And not only that, but it's a great tool to grab emails and start, generating, content. I love your idea of providing value like that. That's incredible. And it's a great way to look at it too, because then you're not constantly saying, trying to take, so to speak.
Right, because you can only make about
LinkedIn
2 of those
very
calls.
powerful.
You can only make about 2 of
Right.
those follow-up calls before your phone calls start getting ignored.
Exactly. So I think that's a great idea.
I do have a question that I know many ask me, and I'm going to ask you guys because you're the experts on that. Is on LinkedIn, you will get a lot of people who try to link with you that don't know you.
Yes.
How do you handle that? Because I won't tell you what I recommend, but how do you handle that?
Well, personally, what I'll do is I will connect with anybody first. In other words, they reach out to me, they want to connect, fine, I'll connect with you. But then I'm going to follow up and send a message immediately that says, thanks for reaching out and connecting. How do you think I can best help you? And if I don't get a response in 48 hours, I remove the connection. I'm willing to connect if somebody's willing to invest in a relationship, but I don't have any interest in having people in my connections that I really don't know and don't feel like I can refer, because that's the reason I used LinkedIn, is to build a network of people that I can refer to and from. So I don't know if that's what you do, Nanette, but
so I actually do something a little different. I actually send them a note right in the beginning that says, I see that you're asking to connect with me. I'd love to know how you feel like we can have a beneficial relationship. How can we help each other? And if they respond, then I, of course, will respond back and then connect with them, depending on what they respond. Connect with them and go from there, versus just connecting with them, because I'll be horrible. I'll never go back and disconnect them. I mean, I just know my personality type. That's not, or the things I've got going on, and that's probably not going to happen.
Right.
And if they don't respond, obviously, then they never become a connection with me. But that's how I actually handle them, and that's what I actually train people how to handle that.
Well, let me show you this. I didn't plan on this as part of the presentation, but one of the things that I do when I'm going to meet with you, Nanette, or Brian, what I would do is I could go out to my network, and I work with a lot of attorneys, and so let's say I go out and look at all my connections, and then I go to my filters, search with filters. So now I have this filtering function where I can see all the filters. But what I can do is, let's say I'm meeting with Brian. So now I can put Brian in here. So I want to see all of the second generation connections to me that are connected to Brian.
Are you still in the free section of LinkedIn, or is this the?
No, this is my free profile.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want them in the Cincinnati area, and title is partner. So what this is going to show me is everybody in Brian's connections who has the title of partner, and I'm hoping to find an attorney. I don't see one, but any of these, in fact, Roddy would be a good connection for me, right? So I can go into a meeting with Brian with a kind of a pre-sorted list of people that I might want to talk to him about for referring me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. We kind of did this.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea too.
So it does make it pretty easy. Let's talk about platform loyalty. This is a big, easy win that a lot of people are missing, because they'll make a YouTube video and then they'll post it on their business Facebook page. Well, Facebook, and since Google owns YouTube, right, they don't play well in the sandbox together. Everybody wants to be their own boss, or they don't want their stuff on their platform. So it doesn't get the same relevance as if you created a Facebook Live video for your business Facebook page. Mm-hmm. The same thing is true with LinkedIn. If you wrote a blog post for your website, great. But if you wrote that same article directly on the LinkedIn platform, let me show you where. So if I decided I wanted to write an article, which I did last week, I just click write an article. And what's nice about it, this particular function, it allows you to create a nice image for the header, a headline and a byline. So it really is, it makes it almost appear that you're an author in the LinkedIn platform. And you can do some nice things. You can embed some video if you want to. There's some really nice publishing tool sets in LinkedIn. And so in LinkedIn, that's going to get more relevance if it's in the LinkedIn platform. So platform loyalty is going to help you. You have anything to add to that, Brian?
Right now, video content is where everything is moving towards.
Right.
Both YouTube and Facebook are really eating up video content. So if you're considering on whether I make posts daily, or do I, come up with video content, I would recommend kind of shifting gears and starting, writing posts is great, but if you're going to be able to answer the same type of question without making somebody read a 500 word article, and you can answer it in a 30-second video, it's gonna get a lot more. It's much more responsive, and it'll get a lot more views that way. And there's a lot of leverage you can kind of do with that I don't want to get too in detail about. But video is kind of where everything's shifting towards.
But
I would much rather watch a 30-second YouTube video than go out, and that's kind of how I teach myself.
So Brian, I have a question for you, Brian. I recommend to my people that when they're doing these videos, they should be a minute or less, a minute or less, or 90 seconds tops, not to go very long. So what is it? You're the expert. So what's the true recommendation?
So it really depends on what their goal is with that video. In terms of answering questions like that, yeah, definitely keep it under 90 seconds. But if you're really trying to kind of start creating like a video ad campaign, sometimes making something that is, 3-4 minutes long might be more beneficial, because what you can do is with Facebook is actually track, okay, this person watched 25% of it, this person watched 75% of it. So somebody who watched, 75% of a 4-minute video is a little bit more intent based than somebody who only watched 3 seconds of it. So then you can start filtering your audiences without actually collecting email addresses. So I can provide more valuable content to somebody who watched the entire video versus somebody who only watched 10 seconds. Does that make sense?
Oh my God, that was worth the ticket price today alone. I just want you to know.
Well, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why I wanted Brian on the call and why I'm so excited about we just started a relationship 2 weeks ago, right? So we're brand new to one another. But what I've watched in him is he is a mathematician locked inside of an SEO business. He thinks of everything in the form of math. Well, as an old sales dog myself, that's the way I've always looked at sales. Sales is just a math problem worked backwards. What do you want? What's the outcome you're looking for? And then what are all the things you have to do to put in the funnel to get there? And that's the way Brian looks at SEO. So some of the stuff he's doing is remarkable. All right. Let's talk about the top types, easy for me to say, 5 types of visual content you need to use in social media marketing. You've got to have your infographics. You've got to have your interactive content. One of the tools or one of the rules that I have when responding to a LinkedIn post or somebody responds to your Facebook page is I tell people finish almost everything you can with a question mark if it makes sense. Try to ask another question, because with Facebook and LinkedIn, the longer the thread gets, the more relevance it gets, and it moves it to the top because the algorithm says, oh, people are interested in this content. So now it just makes its way to the surface. And so having good interactive content, videos, obviously, based on what Brian said, but images are really powerful. Using images, I would say images and videos, would you say 50 or more % of the time, Brian?
Yeah, no, I mean, you should still, 50% is definitely a good number. You still want to use images. They are powerful. And as long as it's, not clickbait.
Yes.
And you're building valuable content with it, it's gonna definitely help you.
And presentations are great. But again, Brian's exactly right. Keep them short. And a way to judge that is how quickly when you're watching a video for the first time, about when do you look down at the bar to see how much is left? And that's about how long you probably want your video to be. And it's okay to go over a little bit, but if I see there's 20 seconds left, I'll endure 20 more seconds, right? But if there's 9 minutes left, I'm probably clicking off, I'm out. But good content is the goal. And good content, here's how you know what good content is. It's what your audience wants, right? It's what they want. I'll give you an example. The doggy daycare that my family owns, doggy daycare, boarding, grooming, all that. The number one affinity group for this business, you would think would be dog lovers or pet lovers. Nope, it's moviegoers. That's the number one affinity group according to our Google Analytics. So we started putting up information about new movies and when they release and stuff like that because that's what they're interested in. I'm not going to go to a cocktail party and spend all the time talking about me and how awesome I am. I'm going to talk about them and what they want. I'll tell you, if you ever want to be called a great conversationalist, go to a cocktail party and try to say nothing but ask questions. And people will rave about what great conversations they had with you because they did all the talking. Anyway.
So I have a question.
Okay.
The question is, because I know that someone who's out there watching this is going, so how did you figure out that moviegoers were your best people?
In your Google Analytics.
Google Analytics.
Yeah, if you don't have your Google Analytics set up, that's step one. Get that embedded. It's a little code that you put. Do you put it up in the header, Brian?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just put
Right in
that
the
code
header.
up there, and then Google watches every time somebody comes out. Well, Google's also gathering information on all the traffic. And then they'll create this, they call them affinity groups, and they'll give you your top, I think they give you like your top 25 affinity groups.
So
Another one of ours is do-it-yourselfers, DIYers, and shopaholics, people that like to shop.
Are you putting this on your website, or where are you putting this?
Brian, you want to talk to that?
I'm asking the stupid questions
Yeah,
because
so
that's what I'm here for.
no, it's not stupid. People need to know this. So there's actually you can install it. You install it on your website, and you put it on the header in the script. So depending on if you have like somebody who develops your website, they usually will add it on there. But what David's mentioning, there is also, so you have a Google Analytics tracking code, but there's also a Facebook pixel. And 90% of businesses out there right now, actually 95% of businesses, I feel like, do not have that. And in my opinion, I think that is more powerful and more relevant because the affinity tools, what David's talking about with Google Analytics, Facebook has a social profile on you. While your profile might not be that big, they have a social profile that's miles long about data that they've collected about you. And so when you're interacting with their Facebook page, you can start to collect and see what affinity groups, and not only that, but if you've ever been to a website and then you pop on Facebook and then you start seeing ads from them, they're retargeting you using a Facebook pixel. And you can do the same thing with Google on YouTube, which is not a lot of small business are doing, which is a big thing. So they find you on Google organically. They might not convert on the first time. Typically people convert, 30% chance higher to convert on the second time they come to your website. So if they might have searched you, first found you on Google, but then forgot about you, then they're scrolling through Facebook at night, you're able to get your brand in front of them again. I don't want to ramble too much there. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it short, but there's a very, very important part about that people, and that, I was talking about bucketing the videos. You can start to do that, build custom audiences and target people that look like your website traffic to kind of increase your brand. So as you get more website visitors, you can start creating lookalike audiences. You can start building out, segmented lists. If they visited this page, hit them with this ad. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but it's definitely, there's a lot of fun on the Facebook pixel side that I don't think is really being fully utilized by small and local businesses.
That's awesome.
I think based on that little riff, I think it would be appropriate at this time, Brian, if you tell people how they can reach you.
Yeah,
because I think that piqued a lot of interest.
And that's I'd be happy to, you can email me, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I'd be happy to get in contact with anyone. I love talking about this stuff, and there are so many ways that small businesses can leverage this. And not only that, but with video, it makes it a lot more cost effective. So definitely, check us out.
Well, and I do want to say, please take note of his name. It's Bryan Rambo, Rambow. And your website, is it patternseo.com?
Yes.
So it's patternseo.com. So I want to make sure that people do understand how to get a hold of you. So, because you're being very humble here, and I'm going to be unhumble for you.
Well, the first time we met, we sat at a coffee shop, and it was like two peas in a pod, man. We were talking and gabbing and yakking it up, and he goes, "I don't want to dominate your time," and it's like, dude, this has been the best conversation I've had like this for years. This is awesome. Now,
it was a great time. It was a great time.
It was. Let me talk about the difference.
Example of a company too. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to separate the difference between brand and reputation, because I think, because you often hear people say brand reputation, and I get it. That is a thing, but brand is what you say about you, and reputation is what others say about you based on a shared perception. Our job as marketers is to manage the difference between the expectations and the actual experience. That's our job. That's the entrepreneur's job, is to manage that expectation, or should I say that gap. And there will always be a gap, right? Because you can never perfectly execute all of your brand messaging every single time with every single person. So, but you have to see where that alignment is, or where it's out of alignment, and begin to move it back in, if that makes sense. And reputation, also, kind of the big 800-pound gorilla in the room, is Google reviews. If you're not actively seeking Google reviews, you're really hurting yourself. Because when you get to 10 or 12 Google reviews, you actually hit a different category inside of their algorithm. So you become an industry mover, if you will, in your category, in your area. You know, when the internet first hit, it was like, oh man, we just built a website. You can do business all over the world. And what's happened is the exact opposite. Now it's become so focused down on the local marketing. So local SEO is critical, and a critical component of local SEO is online reviews. This is a quote I found. I just love it. It's from Monopolize the Market. In order for any business to succeed, it must first become a system so that the business functions exactly the same way every time, down to the last detail. And that's why I talk about people having a system for gaining online reviews. 72% of consumers trust them as much as a personal referral. 68% of customers go to social networking sites to check out reviews on products and services. 90% of consumers say that positive online reviews influence buying decisions. I don't think any of that, I don't think anybody watching this just went, really? I think everybody knows that, but they don't know where to begin. And at very least, ask your client, print out a little business card size card that you hand to people and say, hey, would you mind going to Google and giving us a review? If it's just that rudimentary, at least do something every single time. And let me talk about negative reviews, because some people, I've heard people say, well, I don't want to tell everybody because they might give me a bad review. Hey, bad reviews are good. They are a blessing, because if you have nothing but 5 stars and you have 13 reviews, everybody assumes, okay, you got mom, dad, Aunt Carol, Uncle Ted, cousin Connie, all to write reviews for you. There's no credibility, because nobody believes any business can satisfy 100% of their customers 100% of the time. It's just not credible. So getting a negative review, and I will say, having gotten a few, they're good feedback. It's like, hey, look, we blew it there. And if you blew it, in your response to the review, say, this review is completely justified and we blew it. That would be a great way to answer that review, because it gives you credibility in the market space. I'm not satisfied with the experience you had as the owner of the business. Tell me how you'd like to solve it. There's a great book that you could pick up for yourself by Jay Baer called Utility, Y-O-U, Utility. And in that book, he talks about whatever channel the negative happened on, stay on that channel to solve it. Don't say, if it started on a Facebook review, don't in the Facebook review say, please give our office a call so we can settle this. It started publicly, settle it publicly to the degree you're able. If you're an attorney or you're a doctor, you've got, certain laws and governances that you can't avoid. But if you can solve it publicly and let people watch it play out. That transparency is great for your brand. And it's great for the relevance too, because now we've got this dialogue back and forth. Anything you want to add about that, Brian?
No, I think you hit it on the head there. You're definitely going to have bad reviews, and sometimes it might be a customer, but other times it might be your competition. So If you're not trying to actively get new reviews, it's not going to work out in your favor with that. And Google does weigh reviews heavy now, very heavily online when it comes to popping up. So it's something that you should be. And at the end of the day too, I mean, we've worked with clients before, and not long, where we do a review management campaign for them, and I mean, 80% of it's 1, 2, 3-star reviews and a paragraph of complaints. And it's like, I can't fix that for you. That's not something that, I might be able to help in terms of they were gated reviews. So I
Right.
at least prevented them from going out onto Google. But I'm not going to be able to work for you and grow your business if every person that comes through, because one bad unhappy customer is going to tell all their friends about it, especially if you're working in the food industry. If
Yes.
you're a restaurant owner, that one person is going to cost you a lot more in lifetime value versus, just having good service.
Right.
So it's definitely something that people need to be paying more attention to and trying to build up. But a lot of times you will have clients that just won't give you a review either, no matter how much you ask. You'd be surprised. I've had it happen. But he's also always busy, so it's all right. But I know once I get it, it's great. He's just working on it. But it's constantly, you need to be trying to get them and automate this if possible.
Well, a couple of things I say to people: if you deliver crappy service, you're going to get crappy reviews. There's nothing anybody's going to be able to do to help you with that. And if you have one or two bad reviews, the easiest way to cure pollution is with dilution. So you just have to have a steady, I call it the steady drumbeat of reviews. Every month get a couple of reviews. And to your point, having some kind of a automated system that does that for you is the way to go, because consistency is king. You've heard content is king, and honestly, that's true. But consistency is key, because that's what Google loves. They love that they can trust that this same thing is going to happen over and over and over again. That gives them a sense of credibility and comfort to move you up in the relevance. And earlier I said Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. This is their written corporate mission. So your job as an entrepreneur is to make sure all of your information is universally accessible and useful. So let's talk a little bit about shifting gears some over to directory listings or citations. This is a big component it is a component to the relevance question. How does your information appear online around the internet? So if you look across the bottom, you see Foursquare, Google, Yahoo, Bing, the bigger players. Then they start to kind of taper off. You've probably heard of some of those sites. Well, there's 500, 600, 800 of those little information sites, and they make their money selling ads, right? Well, the four companies across the top are where these sites get their information. And if Axiom has information on your company that's not accurate, that might get put out to 200 businesses. So what happens in the Google algorithm, they go out and their bots hit all of this information, and then they look at it and they go, wait a minute, ABC company, Joe's Plumbing Company is listed at 123 Main Street, but over here, Joe's Plumbing Company is listed on Crest Avenue. And over here, it's not Joe's Plumbing, it's Joseph A. Leibowitz Plumbing. Are these even the same company? And so what that does is it puts a drag, creates friction on relevance. That's why you want to get this data right. And so here's an example, Joe's Plumbing. And this a lot of people don't understand this part. Joe's Plumbing, 123 East Main Street, City State 20146, is different than East spelled out and Street spelled out. That's a different data point in the algorithm. That inconsistency hurts. And it's also different than the third one. Even something as simple as that comma in the last one will create a separate data point and will be treated as separate data in the algorithm, all putting a drag on your search engine relevance. And that's why Brian and I have created the relationship we have. He's completely capable of doing this stuff, but that's what we do exclusively, is we focus in on getting people's information right through our Send product and helping them build online reviews. And then we're actually working with Brian as a company so he can help us with our search engine relevance and getting out in the market space a little more. Do you want to add anything about
And
the
this
whole
stuff is all,
citations?
yeah, this stuff is really boring, but it's crucial. I don't know how many clients I've talked to where they say I moved offices and now I was getting a bunch of phone calls and all of a sudden they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down to whether you might have created a Google My Business page for that location, and then you created a completely new Google My Business page for the new location instead of managing the locations. There's like small things, and this stuff is not like, and no one knows until after the fact. Hindsight's 2020 with this stuff, but it does play a huge role. And we just moved into our new office, and we've got a new address. So I'm in the process of now doing what I do for our clients, is actually cleaning up all my directories and making sure that they're all Montgomery Road, not, ROAD. I'm using RD across the line, and, having an Excel sheet with all the logins of when I did this originally it has helped, but it's still it's tedious, but incredibly important. And also one other thing is, if you are uploading like on Google pictures and stuff, make sure you geotag them, where your location is. That's a real important part that I meant to mention earlier, but that'll help, establish your local credibility.
And if you want to build your location as yours and location authority, ask clients and people coming to your office to set their Google Maps and get their directions and follow the directions all the way to your driveway or all the way to your parking lot, and then terminate at the parking lot. And you do enough of those, and now Google says, okay, people are going to this place, and that's the name of it. It helps with your location authority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nanette, what questions do you think we would have spawned that we could answer?
Well, I actually have a list here of different things. One of the ones that I wanted to bring up or ask was, technology changes so quickly and so rapidly. One person wrote, the seismic shifts that occurred due to technology and the economy. Some people are just overwhelmed by how much technology changes. So my question to you would be, how do you calm that person's nerves down a little bit about all of this? I have an easy answer, but we'll see what you say.
I don't find what you described, that level of stress and anxiousness, as much anymore. It was more common a few years ago, because what's happened, I think, for a lot of people, and Brian, chime in here anywhere you want, is that they recognize that they have a bookkeeper, they have a CPA, they have a business lawyer, they have these professionals that help them with these different disciplines in their business, and now they need to hire professionals to do this. Not all of it, but key components of it, or at least helping set the strategy. And that's, as far as the changes are concerned, that's why you have to have somebody kind of in your network that you can tap on occasion, and that's going to be a good informational resource for you. What are your thoughts, Brian?
I feel like everyone, and I get targeted with a certain type of ad on Facebook, so maybe I'm just a little biased, but everyone is chasing the shiny egg syndrome. I feel like Facebook was popular. Everybody went to Facebook. LinkedIn, all of a sudden everyone wants to start to go to LinkedIn. What I would say is really start with your brand story and figure out, how you want to share that with your customers. And not only that, but then after that, find out really where at the end of the day, what I try to work with my clients is figuring out where they're hanging out. A lawyer doesn't need to be listing their business on, what's it called, house, where they, it's all general contractors and stuff. So, it's understanding where they're congregating and then focusing on creating, basically campaigns towards that. So it's really, I like to kind of keep it as simple as possible. There's always a ton of stuff coming up, and I'm staying on top of it. Google just released the Medic update in August, and now that's starting to roll out to all sites. So if you're not mobile friendly and you don't have an SSL on your website, they're going to start penalizing you. But now we're also getting into this automated world where now we have, integrations for just about everything, and it's almost overwhelming. So my whole thing is how can I keep that simple?
And
Go ahead.
SSL stands for Secure Socket Layer, and
Yeah.
it's basically a requirement now for from Google to be relevant or to be listed, not listed. Your relevance is gonna tank if you don't have a secure socket layer on your website. And they're not expensive; they're $40-50 a year. But the reason it is it's going to keep the internet safer, and that's why Google is demanding it.
Yeah,
one of the things I wanted to chime in to give a little plug for Ascentive here is that if your company or you as your own person do not know your brand story, Ascentive coaches around the world can help you with that. We call it the emotionally charged connection, or finding your why. We can really help you with that. So that way, that just flows through everything else to what these gentlemen were speaking about. You got to know your why. You got to understand your why, because it is a big part of your business.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Absolutely.
No, I don't think so. Online video was one, but I think you guys really did this. Someone did write on here, internet advertising such as Google Dashboard, Yelp, etc. I didn't realize that I needed someone to help me with all of this. I'm very busy massage therapist. So at the end of the day, I really do not want to sit in front of the computer and do these things.
Right.
And so I think it just comes back to hiring somebody. I mean, I'll go back to what David said a few minutes ago. I'm going to say it for a different reason. I think there are certain personality types that definitely do not want to be dealing with this stuff. I happen to be one of them. It's much easier for me to hire someone to let someone else handle all of this stuff, because that's not my flame, that's my wax. And so when you get out of your wax and let someone who really likes that part of the wax, who it's their flame, then that's really the thing we want to have happen. So
the challenge for the entrepreneur, though.
I'm sorry?
Well, the challenge for the entrepreneur is that stepping off point when I'm really busy now, like the massage therapist. I'm really busy now. I don't have time for this. If I carve out $800 a month or $500 a month or whatever, oh my gosh, that's going to make everything so tight. What it's going to do, it will pay for itself, assuming you're hiring somebody that's a pro, and not just having your cousin's kid do it, right? But if you spend, $1,000 with Brian or a few $100 a month with me, it can revolutionize traffic. It can well, Brian has a story. He had a client that was selling, did you say 12 units a month? And then, and after you got a hold of them?
Well, no, so they were gross sales were about 3,000 a month when they were doing it. They weren't doing much. And then we've had a lot of e-commerce success. So going to 20, 30, 40,000 a month. We've got a site right now that we started 3 months ago. We're at almost 20,000 a month, and we're only on the 15th of the month. So it's really figuring out where your traffic is going to be, identifying it, capturing it. And not only that, but having you don't need a website that's like a digital brochure, like the old HTML coded websites. You need something that's concise, gives value, tells you who you are, tells your story, and has some sort of call to action. I see so many websites out there with no call to action, and it's like a little aggravating. You should always have a call to action, some sort of way or reason for them to come out to us or reach out to you. Give them some sort of incentive. You don't have to bait them. I mean, we offer a free SEO analysis. We'll run through, show you all your keywords that your website ranks for. But I'm not chasing people with that. But you should have something on the website, so if someone does find you organically, you have something to capture their information.
Right.
Awesome. Well, we are heading to the appointed hour here, so I just wanted to ask any last words from either one of you.
Well,
thanks for having me on here. That's all.
Well, the thing I tell people, I'm 55, and about 10 years ago, I had this moment of trauma where I realized I suck at almost everything I do. And when I tell this story, people will always say, oh, come on, no, really. I realized I was bad at almost everything. But I also realized that I was great at about 3 things, right? Superpower, world class. And what changed for me is I started focusing on those things and finding people that were good at that stuff I wasn't good at. So now when I'm getting the itch to do a DIY project at the house, I ask my wife to remind me that I write checks far better than I do the work. So I would tell people, stay focused. And like you pointed out, Nanette, stay in your flame. Stay in what you're passionate about and find people to network with that you can have them do those things, those other things. I'm telling you, it will make your trip and your journey far more enjoyable.
I totally agree with that. Well, David, people can get you at the socialsherpa.com.
Yeah, thesocialsherpa.com.
Thesocialsherpa.com. I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about that. If people
No.
go visit you there. No? Okay. And Brian, I really want to thank you for your expertise. It's very nice meeting you, number one. I hope I get to meet you first.
Nice to meet you too.
And, but I really want to thank you for having you on and for your expertise. And for everybody else, I want to thank you for joining us today on the Spectacular Entrepreneur Show. I think this was great content we got today. I got to tell you, I got a whole page of notes here just for myself, and I'm the host. So I am hoping you have a whole page of notes also. We will be back next month, December 20th. We hope you join us then. I'm sure Mike will be back. Thank you again for coming to the Spectacular Entrepreneur Show. See you next month.
Thanks, Nanette.
You're welcome. Everybody go forth and prosper.